So, here we go. Welcome to the Daily Recap, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is BreakyCPK, of course, on what is April 5th, 2017. And what I'd like to do with these is basically go over things that happened within this last day, ideally. In this case, within the last couple of days, even. Obviously, sometimes I have to catch up over what's happened the last couple of days because I don't get to stream every single day necessarily. Things gonna kind of happen here. But speaking of happening, a lot has happened in the Dota 2 scene, just even in these last couple of days. So I wanted to do our best to kind of go over that, not take too long doing so, but taking a look both for my own memory and just for my own resource, my own reference even, but also to help you guys out in case you're interested in the Dota 2 scene. But I know there's so much going on, it's hard to keep up on it always. So we'll go ahead and do our best to go through it as quickly as possible. We got the Dota 2 Asian Championships. Of course, this wrapped up a couple of nights now ago. But this was really the big event, and not necessarily a major event, but really a second tier to a major. You could almost call it a major in a lot of ways. Had a fairly decent prize pool, but on top of that, really some of the best teams in the world going at it. I mean, it almost was a preview of the Kiev Major in a lot of ways. A lot of teams that are here, of course, were going to be at the Kiev Major. So taking a look at the event as a whole, obviously these are the 12 teams that participated. Thanks for the host, Emmett TV, by the way, the one viewer host. Appreciate it as always. Anyways, back to action here. Kicked off with the group stages, and then it went into a playoff format. Top two teams from each group stage advanced on. Again, this happened over the last week or so I don't really want to go over too much. But one of the most surprising things for me was simply put Team Empire being a top two team out of Group A right there. And I think that had to be the same for a lot of people. Not that I didn't expect much out of them, but this is a very, very tough event. And if anything, my top two would have been OG as well as VGJ. I've always been a fan of them. But VGJ having a fairly disappointing result, 0-3-2 in the groups, and ultimately being knocked out a little bit earlier on. But you take a look at the brackets and how it actually played out right here. Some of the more surprising results were Invictus Gaming and the run that they had, obviously winning in the end over OG 3-0 in a grand final. I don't want to say stomp, but apparently they looked pretty decisive in those 3 games even, and they are your DAC 2017 champions as a result. So I gotta say, out of all the Chinese teams, outside of LFY, this was probably the least expected team for me, to be frank. This is not a team I would have expected to be in the grand finals, let alone win this tournament. But they did, and they did so in very good fashion. You got players like Burning, of course, a lot of people referring to, but OP, their mid player. Just across the board, a great roster with a lot of experience and also kind of new faces. That definitely looked very, very good and deserving of this victory. But you got teams like Newbie, who ended up coming up short, of course, as the third-place result. But then VGJ, like I mentioned earlier, finishing in a very disappointing spot in the loser bracket round 2, as you see right here. Even IG Vitality, another team that I would have expected to see over Invictus Gaming due to recent results. But IG, your DAC 2017 champions. OG finishing a runner-up, still obviously very good looking for them. And if you had to make a tier list right now of teams that are of like the top teams in the world, I personally would still put the green team on top right there, the Green Dream. We got OG up at the top right there. Despite even finishing second place here. But of course, I still think that they are the team to beat and will be the team to beat going into the Kiev Major. As being pointed out, I mean, if you look at that first game, it was a 63-minute game, so it's not like it was a stop by any means. But then the next two, it looks like IG definitely taking control for the most part. Just simply from the time, you can almost tell that. But OG even getting their hands on Lone Druid and Visage being ran. Speaking of that, as far as heroes, I got a glimpse in matches here and there, but with the time frame and being busy with other stuff, actually, I didn't get to watch as much as I would have liked. But I did hear that Monkey King had quite the appearances in the event. On top of that, I know that. God, what else was really popular in this event? Lena, I know, was actually picked up quite a bit. And I think those were kind of the two that were stand out, especially as of more lately, when it comes down to draft. So Enigma, picked up in places here and there, but of course we'd already started seeing that trend as well. So those are kind of some notes from the DAC 2017. But overall, a great event. It seems like the production was fantastic. All the casters had nothing but praise. As far as the production went, it seems like just in general, the Twitter universe and Reddit and everything, they enjoyed this event. And the Kiev Major coming up definitely has quite the bar set going into their event. So Yeah, Alchemist and Naga apparently made quite a bit of appearances too. So maybe to people's dismay, but it's what it is, right? So, all right, so that's the DAC. Going to spend the most time on that, of course, for obvious reasons. But that wrapping up. Another thing currently going on, and we'll be continuing here, the Dota 2 Professional League top. This is considered the top league in China, Dota 2. Again, I've done my best not to really focus too much on this, but ever since I started casting a little bit of it, and China's very relevant in the Dota 2 scene, I figured it's worth at least referencing it just to take a quick note to see how things are shaping up. This is kind of their regular season that they have going on that leads into a playoff, of course. Right now, they're week number 3, it looks like, and that actually kicks off into tonight, going into tomorrow morning, at least for the Eastern time frame. So you see how things are shaping up so far. You got teams like VG Gaming actually on top right there, with a lot of the expected. One of the more surprising results, it's again VGJ kind of in the middle right there. I gotta say, VGJ is maybe toning down a little bit, and as somebody that wasn't surprised to see them invited to the Kiev Major and expecting big things out of them, perhaps, I'm getting a little bit more worried now as time goes on right here. So when we do our Kiev Major preview show, we'll kind of talk more about that, I'm sure. But VGJ, it'll be interesting to see how they kind of recover and step up. Wings Gaming also down there, 1-5-0. That's another result that you probably would not expect. But outside of that, things are pretty understandable. eHome Keen, kind of one of those teams maybe that's standing out in the middle right there. I'm looking at the roster. I frankly do not know any of these players. I believe this is kind of one of these second-tier teams for an organization like eHome, or like an up-and-coming team in the big scheme of things. But yeah, the VG Gaming leading the way. How about that? VG Gaming, obviously a solid team, but I don't know if people would have expected them to be on top. But again, it is just the regular season. Anything can happen when it comes to the playoffs, which will be the 6 teams, the top 6 teams actually going on to that. Looks like a bye for the top 2 teams. And then you got the next 4 will duke it out in that first-round matchup. So this is the final week, actually, coming up. So we're going to find out which 6 teams advance on to the bracket stage right there, the playoffs even. All right, so that's the Dota 2 Professional League top. We got another event kicking off recently, and I didn't really know much about this one until I was looking at Wikipedia, and sure enough, this one popped up right here. But what is called the Russian eSports Cup 2017. This is currently going on right now. It actually is about a $55,000 prize pool, and it's apparently a LAN event on top of that. So I never even heard about this, but it's one of these where they actually have a lot of different games going on. There's apparently already been matches that have been played here in a couple of the group stages. There's obviously 4 groups in total. Several of these teams you would recognize, but most of them probably not. This seems like one of those, because of the prize pool, you're going to have a lot of the top teams. In fact, I think all the teams in CIS are here. But then you have a lot of no-name teams that qualify through online qualifiers and whatnot. So obviously that's what we're kind of seeing right here. Now, as far as results so far, it's expected. Team Spirit going to 5-0, Friends going 5-0, with Elements Pro going 4-1. Obviously, one of these 2 teams had to lose, so that's not surprising to see, as it looks like they've been just playing best of ones against one another. So, a $55,000 prize pool, that's not too shabby. And it will continue into the later part this week. Virtus Pro, obviously a lot of people are going to be looking for them and see how they do. Then you got Empire and Vega Squadron on top of that. SFTE Esports, I didn't know they were CIS. For some reason I thought they were a South American team. I might be thinking SG Esports. That's probably why. Anyway, so this is going to be curious to see how this plays out. Obviously, once we get to the brackets, that's where things are going to get a little more interesting, especially the final bracket for this event, as it will be some great CIS competition. So when that's set to happen, I don't know if there's dates set yet. Yeah, it's just to be decided. So I'm guessing in these next couple of weeks it will be taking place. But, the group stages will happen later on this week, and then into the playoffs, perhaps into the next week here. I'm not sure. I want to say right now it's probably online play still, and then the later part is going to be LAN. But again, I really do not have much information on this event. I don't think many people do. It's one of these kind of, that seemed like it just popped up out of nowhere kind of deals. So that's the Russian Esports Cup. We got the Southeast Asian Kappa Invitational. Another one of these events that's kind of just happening, but welcome to Dota 2. I've noticed that more and more, that these events just keep popping up out of nowhere. But it's good to see. It's good to see. There's another reason why we do these daily recaps, right? So, anyways, we got the Southeast Asian Kappa Invitational. We got 10 teams from Southeast Asia going at it, competing for a $20,000 prize pool. So it's actually some good money on the line here once again for these 12 teams here, or 10 teams, excuse me. All the big teams are in this, kinda, except the two biggest, I guess you could say. Obviously, Faceless and TNC are missing from it. So kind of interesting there. I don't know if schedules overlapped one out, but you figure for a $20,000 prize pool, those two teams perhaps would have wanted to participate. But I guess Faceless was busy with the DAC, of course, and TNC, I can't say why they weren't in this event. But then even you have a team like Fanatic, their new roster, obviously just very recently announced. We'll talk about it in a second. They're not in this either, but you still got teams like Execration, Mineski, Geek Fam, and Warriors Gaming Unity are kind of the four teams that really stand out right here. And so it looks like they play in a group stage that leads into a playoff here as well, the top two from each group advancing. Looking at the results, Mineski on top here. Execration 0-1-0. I mean, it's still very early on, though. I'm guessing they play best of twos, it looks like, one time against another. So they play, 4 matches in total. So still room to be made up here for a team like Execration. And then on the other side, you have Warriors Gaming Unity at the top right here at 2-0-1. Currently, not surprised to see that, obviously. You'd expect, at the groups right here, let's see, Mineski and Execration probably the top two teams. I mean, maybe Warriors Gaming Unity, actually. I don't know, that's actually kind of tough. Mushi, of course, newly joined of Mineski, so I don't know. That's going to be interesting to see how that shapes up right there. I guess you really got 3 teams kind of battling out. This Group A seems a lot tougher, by the way. I don't watch a lot of Southeast Asian Dota 2, but seems like Group A is a lot stronger. Because Group B, you have oh, wait, that's Warriors Gaming Youth. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, Warriors Gaming Unity, that's a different team. Okay, I was misreading that. So Warriors Gaming Unity actually is in Group B. That makes a little more sense. So, yeah, it's going to be Mineski and probably Execration would be my two here. And then you got Warriors Gaming Unity, and I know Clutch Gamers has been decent. Rex Regam's also a solid team. I don't know. That'll be curious to see which of these teams advances on as well. But that's the Southeast Asian Kappa Invitational. I believe Moonduck is actually doing coverage for this. Got a $20,000 prize pool happening over these next couple of weeks as well. And then another one of these events I always like to give shout out to, a $5,000 prize pool, but still, it's just good content to be had. We got the Pro Dota Cup currently going on, a $5,000 prize pool, and you got 16 teams in it. They compete in just straight up double elimination, best of 3 from the beginning. And it looks like it's just kicking off as of today, in fact. So you got 12 teams in this one, including the new Pro Dota roster, which I want to talk about here. I guess it's kind of a decent transition. You look at all these other teams. Penta, of course, has to be a team that perhaps is on the rise here. But this time around, the Pro Dota Cup didn't necessarily get the greatest competition, it looks like. There's a lot of these Tier 2, Tier 3 teams, which, again, is good at the same time. It gives them a chance to make a name for themselves. But going to Pro Dota, speaking of roster changes, Pro Dota officially announcing today that they acquired a new team. They acquired the former No Logic Gaming team with their roster for the most part. So it looks like Milan, J4, 3-3, and Kaiser being picked up to join Garter with their team. So you got a new 5-man roster coming at us with Pro Dota. They're replacing the likes of the former players such as Cheshire Cat, Come With Me, Insania, and Mickey. So let's just say oh yeah, Friends, of course, is a solid team too. I didn't mean to overlook them. But let's just say I don't know the exact details in this transaction right here, but considering that they just qualified for the regionals of the Kiev Major, and they were playing against the best teams in the world and looking all right doing so at times, this better not be the organization's decision. If this is the organization's decision, I don't know what to say, because they were doing well, and you got players like Mickey and Insania that are definitely up-and-coming players in the Dota 2 scene as they've proven. So I don't know the exact details. I kind of glanced at this. It doesn't really 100% say exactly what the details are, but the point is, anyways, they picked up a new roster right here. So obviously, No Logic Gaming from beforehand, they were a solid team. And it's going to be interesting to see how this new Pro Dota team does. I'm sure they're going to be one of these solid Tier 2 teams. But, yeah, I don't know where Insania and Mickey are going to end up now. And other players, Cheshire Cat and Come With Me, who also seem like solid players on top of that. So We'll see what happens there. And then the final announcement to make, another roster announcement to make. In fact, we have a new Fanatic roster officially announced, no longer involving Mushi, of course, as he's now with Mineski. Instead, we have Miracle, QO, Ohio, DJ, and Febby. So a couple of former MVP Phoenix players. Obviously, you have Ohio, long-standing player with Fnatic, and then DJ and Miracle stepping in as well. Miracle, of course, not the Miracle, the Southeast Asian Miracle. He apparently has been around for a bit himself, but one of a fantastic player in the Southeast Asian scene. So I believe he's set up to play the 1 position where QO is going to be playing the 2. They might interchange. I'm not 100% sure. But the new Fnatic roster, yeah, definitely has potential. I agree. You could argue that it will possibly be even stronger than the previous one, and I don't think that that's a stretch, honestly. This is a team with a good amount of experience. It's just a matter of will they blend well together. The potential is there, though, and this is a team that definitely could dominate Southeast Asia coming up here. So there we go. That's everything that's kind of been happening within these last couple of days, even, of the Dota 2 scene. So it kind of makes me want to bring back these recap videos that I've been doing recently with just so much freaking happening. But hopefully this is a great source of content for you guys to check out what's been happening in the Dota 2 scene as of late, really within these last couple of days. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Recap. Again, I was BreakyCPK. You can find me on my Twitch, as well as my Twitter and Facebook, all at BreakyCPK, of what is April 5th, 2017. So I try to do this every day. Ideally, it's not as long as this because I'm more caught up and not as much to go over. But, you know, that's not a bad thing either. Plenty to go over here today, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, I'll see you then.